is a contemporary calligrapher master, a TEDx speaker, and engineer who has embarked upon a journey to promote Indian script globally through his calligraphy art. A self-learner, the quest for subject took him to Japan to learn and understand more about the different forms of calligraphy. He undertook research on the subject to appreciate the synergy and harmony in the various forms of calligraphy, the Oriental calligraphy, Western calligraphy, and the Indian calligraphy. His works have versatility in treatment of the subject, colors, texture, media, and tools. Our Vedas, Upanishads, the Vedanta, and the likes have been guiding and enlightening us about our lives over the ages as a written word. These can be shared with the world in two ways: books and calligraphy art. And he has come out with a wonderful, in this pandemic, to reach out the people. I think the virtual calligraphy exhibition is the best way to promote it. And he has curated a virtual calligraphy exhibition for the event. So he's the best person to describe about this calligraphy exhibition. So I invite him to introduce the exhibition to the participants and audience. Over to Rajiv ji.
Many thanks, Dr. God. And I thank you all to be here. And it is indeed an honor to be present among such a distinguished panel of speakers and all the friends who are watching us online. Before we move on to the exhibition part of it, I'll take a few minutes to talk about and uh, put across my point of view as far as mother language is concerned. There are languages, and then there is a mother language. Everybody knows quite a few languages. Some people know one, some people two, three, four, maybe. Some people there have been people who are known to have known more than 30, 40, 50 languages. But then there is only one mother language. Because what makes it so different and so unique and so emotional? Just think of a child who is about, let's say 2 days old or 3 days old, lying in a cradle. His intellect has not developed, but his instincts are. Nobody is teaching him anything. He's spending maximum time close to his mother. So he's grasping. Mother is not teaching him anything at that point, but he is, or he or she, that baby is grasping. Instincts are there. Instincts are God given. They are born with him. So the kid just looks around and takes in maximum of the world that he or she can. Then slowly, mother starts teaching that child a language, and also parallelly, his intellect also starts to grow. I can learn, and once intellect is completely developed, anybody can learn a language. So most of the languages which we all know are a part of our intellect. But mother tongue is the only language which is a part of our instincts. And that is why we say, when Professor Anvita was saying that it's very easy to impart knowledge in the mother languages, why do we say that? Because that instinctively the knowledge comes to us. We don't have to stress upon the language. Does not become a barrier here when the knowledge is coming to me, if it is coming to me through my mother language. It just straight away comes to me and moves inside me, and I become full of it, instead of me also focusing on how this language through which it is taught to me. So there is another point of focus there which is not there in case of our mother language. Now it all began as a sound. People communicated with each other long back when we were in caves through sounds, alerting each other of the presence of a predator or anything. Then the sounds got together and the words were formed. Then when the words were put into grammar, first language was formed. Sentences were formed, and then when it was put into grammar, then the first languages were formed. Grammar is a set of rules in which to use the vocabulary. Vocabulary, every language has got two components in it. One is the vocabulary, and the second one is the grammar. Vocabulary is the collection of words and their meanings, describe the world around us. And grammar provides the rule, a set of rules in which these words are to be used. So every language has got a unique grammar, and a language is identifiable not by vocabulary, but by the grammar it is used. You can use any vocabulary in any language, but you cannot use one grammar into any other language, because in that case the language is going to change completely. You can introduce English words in Hindi. You can use Afrikaans, which is a very, I just came to know very recently while working on this exhibition, that Afrikaans is the newest language. Now that you can incorporate in any other language, or you can change the vocabulary seamlessly from here to there, but the grammar remains the same. And also, when I have spoken something, the lifespan of the word is spoken, letter is written. When the lifespan of a word is so long as the speech is there, after that, unless you record it, it is lost. But a written letter transcends through the time. It's not just for today, it's for thousands and thousands of years, both in the past and in the future. That is the reason why the scripts were created, to record the knowledge, so that that knowledge in written form could be given off from one generation to another, passed on from one generation to another, and complete, and it could be referred to something that was said or written thousands and thousands of years ago. That is the beauty of the alphabet. Now, all mother language means individuals, and individuals living in a certain society, in a certain group, are always speaking the same mother language. That is how ethnicities got defined at some stage. Now they started interacting with each other. I'm now coming to our inspiration for working on exhibitions like this. This is our second exhibition, for previous one which we did last year at Bhashakriti, and I'm thankful to Dr. God, IGNCA, and UNESCO to be constantly working with us and helping us putting such events together. And the journey has just begun. There's lots and lots more to come. Now, when the ethnicities interacted with each other through trade mainly. For instance, a lot of trade happened between Mesopotamia and between Indus Valley at that time. Now, people have to negotiate the prices. They have to negotiate the rates at which things to buy and sell. From that point of view, the currency and the number system came into being, and the number system that got generated in the process, which came from India, the decimal system and the number system, is called Indo-Aryan, and or not Indo-Aryan, it's called Arabic, Indo-Arabic numerals. Now, these are few things through which the civilizations interacted. And it all happened in the languages that they were. When I am dealing with someone, I automatically, instinctively pick up a few things from his language, so that I can refer to that in the next time when I'm conversing with the same person or a group of person. So there are so many words got. Today, when I look at the languages, I find so many words which are common. Definitely, people must have interacted at some level, so that this word came from that, and the other word came from there to here. For instance, it could be immediately something that can come to my mind is, let's say, in India, the towel is called towel, taulia, and toalia in Spain. They all sound absolutely the same. Some kind of interaction must have occurred at some stage, because of which these things are becoming so common. Our idea is that through the languages, build out a bridge across the globe, finding out the stories in which people picked something from somewhere and then gave something somewhere else. There is this very, there is a hidden, there are national, there are nations, there are societies, there are individuals. There is a hidden net somewhere if you look at the words, if you look at the languages, if you look at the scripts, you will find a hidden net somewhere which is connected and which is not so visible, from above. But it is there. Our idea is to find that kind of a network, find that kind of linkages between the languages, linkages between the, sometimes the answers lie in the dialect, sometimes the answer lies in the shape of the alphabet, and many such things. We intend to bring out such stories from across the globe, which are based on the letter, based on the languages, and presented through a beautiful form of calligraphy. Calligraphy is nothing but the art of beautiful handwriting. First there is handwriting, then when we want to do it, we speak with melody, it becomes a song. I move, I start to run, I start taking part in a race, it becomes a run. And similarly, when I write, when I start to decorate my writing, it becomes calligraphy. This is somehow which is presenting what you know. When I'm presenting writing in form of an art, it is calligraphy. So all the languages, the scripts associated with them have got stories to tell. Those stories are very, very interesting, as will be pointed. This is a very short talk that we are indulging in right now. But in the detailed session in the days to come, I'm sure there are many stories which are going to be coming out and which are going to be of um, interest to others and very entertaining as well. Now, in this coming now to this exhibition that we have here, our inspiration had been to go to the languages. Last year we did Indian languages. This year we thought that let's go across the globe and try to bring in as many artists and as many countries as possible, and let's hear their stories. Let's hear their inspirations and the languages and expression of that languages through calligraphy. Happy to share 15 countries participated, and around more than 30 artists also participated, contributing 2 to 3 pieces each. So we could put up a sizable exhibition, which because in these days of pandemic, we can only present it through virtual show, and that virtual show is in two forms. One is detailed art and art countries, their artists, their inspirations, and their works for detailed view. And there is a three-dimensional view of the entire art show as well, in which we take you through the various artist walls which were created, and see that how their art looks in perspective. Now, not now let me take you straight to the website, this virtual exhibition that we've created, and let me share the screen, and then we'll just go through the site. Application.
Rajiv ji,
Yes.
we can show the website in the screening session. Right now, we can
Okay.
webcast that small video, which we would be
Okay.
prepared for. So,
So presently, am I sharing my screen or not?
no,
Okay. Okay.
this is the exhibition we are showing.
Okay. All right. All right.
uh, Rajiv ji, for your wonderful introduction to the exhibition. I'm
Thanks
sure
a lot.
people will like it, and getting 15 participants from 15 countries is a very commendable task, and you did it wonderfully. The screening of this exhibition will be done at 3 p.m. on 24th February on the same platform. So you can join it. All who are interested in seeing the full exhibition can join on 24th February. And we have requested the other participants of the exhibition to physically present to interact with you on 24th February at 3 o'clock. So now we are